everyone. Thank you for joining the NGLCC for its third installment of I'm Certified, Now What? Leveraging your certification and communicating strategically with corporate partners. Sam Lehman, co-founder of Columbia Consulting Group, is joining us today and will be giving us some insight on the etiquette of communicating with NGLCC's corporate partners. Sam's business has been certified for over 4 years now. Good morning, Sam.
Hi, how are you, Brent?
Great, thanks. And this is just to let all folks know who may have questions. You can email your questions. There's definitely going to be a time for Q&A at the end. But in the meantime, if you want to email your questions to our Supplier Diversity Fellow, Natalie Rojas, her email is nrojas@nglcc.org. N is in Nancy, R is in red, O is in orange, J is in Jamaica, A is in Apple, S is in Sam at nglcc.org. You can email her with any questions. So the NGLCC wants to be part of your long-term success as a certified LGBT Business Enterprise, or LGBTBE as we like to say. And we're here to serve as a bridge between you, corporate America, the government, and each other, that is, other LGBT-owned businesses. We want to help you communicate that certification is the beginning of a process. It's a way to build key relationships that we hope will serve you well over the long term. Once you're certified, you have access to the contact information for all the other certified LGBTBEs and to our corporate partners. We encourage you to develop a game plan for reaching out to them in a targeted way, and we'll be talking a little bit more today about how to do that exactly. So to start, it's important to understand how to use the NGLCC database. Note that we just launched our new website, nglcc.org, but it's different than the database. The database is where you created your online profile when you filled out your online application. And if you submitted a PDF version of the application, that's entirely fine, but the database website is nglcc.cvmsolutions.com. So nglcc.c as in Charlie, V as in Victor, M as in Maroon, S as in Sam, O as in Orange, L as in Larry, U as in Uncle, T as in Tyler, I as in Igloo, O as in Orange, N as in Nancy, S as in Sam.com, cvmsolutions.com. Note that it only works with Internet Explorer, but if you're using a Mac, there's a process that we can send you that works with Google Chrome that sort of rectifies that if you're working on a Mac. And please email Natalie if you'd like that information. But our database is a very powerful tool, and you can use this, a main portal, for access information to over 140 corporate partners. Once you're logged in, look for a tab on the left-hand side that reads Corporate Partner. If you click it, you'll see a search field that comes up. Now you can do one or two things. You can search for a very specific corporate partners. Say, for example, if you want to work with CVM and you want that contact information, you can type in CVM and hit search. Or if you want a generated list of all of our corporate partners, you can just leave the search fields blank and hit search, and a list will come up at the bottom of the page. And you can export these lists to Excel if you'd like. But you can also search for other certified LGBTBEs. You can search by their commodity, location that you think might be important for your strategic partnerships or for other business-to-business opportunities. So say you need an accountant. There's an opportunity to look for another certified LGBTBE accountant, for example, in your area if that's what you're looking for. So the database is a really powerful tool. In the context that we have for our corporate partners, these are folks with whom we've built up very strong relationships in the past and who want to work with our certified LGBTBEs and work for companies who have committed to working with our LGBTBEs. So these are very valuable contacts that you have as a resource as a certified business. So Sam, I have a question for you. How often do you use the database, and how do you use it to help it grow your business?
Well, it has scaled down through the years. It was my number one jumping off point at the beginning. Once I joined the chamber, I didn't want to join the chamber unless I wanted to utilize it 100%. I wanted to put everything I had into it before I committed to it. So once I committed to joining the chamber and went through the process, I was thrilled. And one of the things that surprised me was the database, because really, it's regardless of what industry you're in or product or service, your contacts is really important. And I would buy contact lists throughout, the year, various, contact lists. Your contact list in itself pays for the cost of the certification. So I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised at the beginning. But that is my jumping off point. That was where I started the process. That's where the foundation was laid, as far as here are the folks I'm going to contact, and here's how I'm going to go through the process. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult to do anything within the process without going there first and putting a plan together of whether or not you're going to verticalize or whatever method that you have. But the starting off point is the database, and it's great. It's one of the few databases that I've seen that's always up to date, because you guys are rigorous as far as keeping data current, and it's accurate, it's current, it's articulate, everything is spelled out correctly, and having that jumping off point is a tremendous asset. So that's where I started, and I used it a lot. As time goes on, I visit it just to keep up to date, but not quite as much as I did at the beginning. But your first year in certification, it's a huge tool.
Great. Yeah, it really is. There's no other place, other than through us, other than that database that has all of these contacts right at your hand that you can, utilize.
It's very difficult to buy. I before I joined the chamber, I tried to buy purchase a list, and it wasn't one of the titles that was commonly acknowledged, Chief Diversity Officer, so it was very difficult to get the list. So when I did finally join the chamber and saw the list, I was blown away at how valuable that was just in itself.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, so aside from the database, we also have links to many of our corporate partners, not all, and we have over 140 corporate partners, but many of our corporate partners have supplier diversity vendor portals. And these are on their website, but it might be a little time-consuming and cumbersome to find. But we do have the links for all of these. Currently, they're not on our website just yet. As many of you know, we just launched our new website, and we're currently working on getting things up and running on there. But we do have the links in a spreadsheet that, if you're interested, definitely email Natalie. Again, if you're just joining the call, her email address is nrojas@nglcc.org. Email her, and we will get that out to you. And again, this is a spreadsheet that has the links right to our corporate partners' vendor portals. So it's really important to register there, because registration as a vendor is often a prerequisite for consideration for contracting opportunities with our corporate partners. A lot of corporate partners, we recommend that you make a list of about 5 to 10 corporate partners that you would like to engage with, perhaps in the first month or 2 months that you want to work with. Register at their supplier diversity portals and get their contact information off the CVM. So maybe follow up. Once you register, we'll use CVS, for example. Once you register with their supplier diversity portal, it might be advantageous, it might be wise to go into our database, find the contact for CVM, and follow up with an email, just introducing yourself, saying that you registered, at CVS's vendor portal, and you're interested in doing business, make an introduction, that sort of thing. Again, certification is part of your long-term success. If you're pursuing corporate opportunities, it typically takes about 3 to 5 years before you actually get a corporate contract, and it can possibly be shorter than that, but that is a typical turnaround time. Oftentimes, corporations may already have contracts with another business and may not be interested at that particular time, but as long as you're on their radar, you'll be considered when that contract expires and they're looking for someone new. However, that said, if you've been building a strong professional relationship with supplier diversity folks at a particular corporate partner, when the contract is up, they'll already know who you are, and you may be considered for that contract. If you're already working with a corporate partner or another business or in the process of a bid, it's important to let them know. Let your current contacts know, and the supplier diversity folks at that corporation or business know that you're now a certified LGBTBE. You sort of have that extra enforcement relationship with them. In terms of supplier diversity professionals, who are they? What is their role to you as a certified diverse supplier? Most of the folks with whom you will come into contact will be supplier diversity professionals. These folks are staffed within a company whose role is specifically to ensure that diverse suppliers are being used in the supply chain. Supplier diversity professionals are your advocate within these corporations. That is something that you would not have as a diverse supplier. You are their constituency, and their role is to provide that extra layer of support and contact opportunity. Their supplier diversity person is not only the person, is not always the person who actually makes the purchasing decisions. However, it is important to understand that he or she is your connection and key source of intelligence of opportunities for you. They can connect you with other key contacts within the company, including procurement staff within your target category. So that's sort of the overview of connecting with corporate partners and using the database. And Sam's going to get into this in more depth later on in the call. And again, the database is not our website, which is nglcc.org, but at a separate website, nglcc.cvmsolutions.com. And this is where you logged in when you initially created your online profile.
And Brent, can I add a tip to that? I imagine
sure.
The folks on the phone, it's a pretty good mix of business owners and possibly employees. And of the business owners, maybe you won't be doing the online registration. Maybe someone you associate with or one of your employees will. But imagine being asked 18 detailed questions. That's what you have to go through to register. Now, that's daunting in itself. But the key is that most organizations ask the same 18 questions. So what we have done, and a lot of organizations do, is supply, on your own computer or laptop, is a cut and paste scenario where the questions are, many of the questions are alike from organization to organization. So although they're detailed questions, it's not 18 times. If you register for 20 organizations, it's not 20 times the work. Once you do the initial questions, document them, and then just cut and paste and sort of massage to whatever company that is. So it may seem daunting when you do your first registration with an organization, but I can tell you that if you do 20 of them, it's not 20 times the work. If you document all the answers, put them on your computer in a Word document, and cut and paste as you go along, you'll be able to do, your first registration may take 35 minutes. Your 18th registration, if you do that many, may take about, 12 minutes.
Sure.
So that's a tip that as I spoke to a lot of other business owners, I got that from another business owner that said, no, you can cut your time in half. So that was a good insight as to once you get rolling with registering, how it can speed up the process.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really great idea. Thank you, Sam. So next, I'd like to talk about the conference a little bit. We have our annual Out for Business conference, and this year it is in Dallas at the Omni Hotel, and it starts on July 30th and goes through August 2nd. We're really excited about this year's conference and are expecting about 700 attendees. Last year we sold out and had over 500 in Chicago, so we're definitely expecting even more this time. And that's why it's really important to put it on your calendar now and to put it on your radar, because this is where you're really going to receive the greatest opportunity with your certification. The NGLCC's Out for Business conference is the largest NGLCC gathering with supplier diversity professionals who are seeking to do business specifically with LGBT business owners. It is a prime opportunity to meet our corporate partners, to meet the people who make buying decisions, meet other certified businesses, and to build and solidify existing relationships. So at our conference in Dallas this year, we'll have matchmakers. It's one of the greatest components of the conference. NGLCC's matchmakers are set-aside, scheduled 15-minute appointments between an LGBT business owner and one of our corporate partners. This is an opportunity to showcase your business and to show how our corporate partners, a little bit about your business and how you would like to work with them and why. You get to learn about any upcoming opportunities and that make the face-to-face connection that you can use later to move forward with that company. Last year we had over 300 meetings, and we are hoping to increase that even more this year. We also have panels. We have panel sessions geared towards LGBT business owners and have folks thoughtful leadership on developing corporate contracts, experts on building your brand, strategic growth, etc. Registration for the conference is now open. If you haven't already booked your spot at the conference, you will want to do so as early as possible. Last year we sold out, and we're expecting to do so again this year. We are also offering an early bird special rate of $349 until May 31st, so definitely book before then. You can register by clicking on our events tab on our website, which is nglcc.org, and we also have special discounts on hotel registration, airfare that can be found on the website as well. And Sam, would you like to talk a little bit about the conference? I know that you're a huge fan of it, and you come. What sort of opportunities can you expect to find at the conference?
Well, as I mentioned about the database, that was my biggest asset, is working with the database early on. As I migrated through the chamber, the biggest asset became the conventions, or the dinners and the conferences.
Sure.
And the reason is because it really was one of the few opportunities where you could legitimately sit across the desk from someone who is looking to do business with a diversity company, and here you are, a diversity company. So you are given the opportunity, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4 perhaps, who knows, opportunities to sit face-to-face with a decision maker. You just rarely get that chance. And for me, I thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime. It ended up being a once-a-year, potentially. But it really is a good opportunity to showcase what your business is. You have to be concise about your product or your service. You don't have endless amounts of time, so you have to be concise, articulate, and you got to be able to convince them that they won't make a decision there, but they will push your agenda forward within their organization. I had the opportunity to sit across from New York Life, and this was a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. It looked like it was potentially it was going to go places, and it looked like it was stopped dead in its tracks. And 3 months ago, I was able to sign a contract with them, and it was, I think it was 14 months after the opportunity to sit face-to-face with them. So it didn't come quickly, but I stayed prudent on keeping up with them, and they gave me opportunities to stick with it. So it's not a situation where you'll walk out with a handshake and a contract, but it starts the process. You look someone in the eye, and it starts the process of, hey, I'll introduce you to, if you're selling industrial carpets or whatever your industry is, they can put you in touch with the person based on their recommendation to move forward. Mm-hmm. So the conventions are great. At one time, I thought it was simply an avenue to get more business. And I was speaking to someone one day, and they said, I'm really not here for business. And I said, oh, why would you come out to the conference? And they said, this is an opportunity for me to get ideas. So it was interesting to me. I haven't thought of that, but this person was in the marketing department of a company. So their reason for coming to the conference was to get ideas from other, not only corporate partners, but also suppliers to, how to work with the LGBT marketplace, how to appeal to them. So not only was it to get business, but it was also to share ideas because there was so much networking to be done. And then it's also a good way to potentially gain employees, to meet someone, to network through there. Do they know someone? So if I'm there to hopefully increase my revenue, but that's not solely the reason for the conference. It's also to share ideas with folks like you. I mean, whatever industry you're in, there'll be others in your industry that may give you an idea that you haven't thought of before.
Yeah, and That's exactly right. That's great. And another key component to this is these are folks that you presumably have been emailing with throughout the year, but finally they can put a face to a name, and they can actually get a formal introduction. It's really a great opportunity.
The one thing that the one thing that would surprise me the most about the chamber was I have been involved with many LGBT organizations, cause-driven organizations that were, that are just fantastic organizations. The NGLCC was the only one that was almost entirely revenue-driven. It is not cause-driven. It is, if you join, they are going to help you increase your revenue. And it was so dead on that I thought it was an interesting organization compared to all the other LGBT organizations that have fantastic causes. But this one is very direct to help your business grow, and I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. So I'd like to talk about another great benefit that the NGLCC has to offer, aside from its annual conference, is the mentorship program. The mentorship program was established to match LGBTBEs, our certified businesses, with corporate representatives and other successful LGBTBEs to assist the applicant or the business owner in business development and focus areas identified by the LGBT protege. The program helps LGBTBEs overcome barriers that typically inhibit success. And by connecting LGBTBEs with mentors, the program enhances competitiveness. The mentors provide consultation in specific needed areas and bring business development suggestions and insight. The NGLCC supports and monitors each protege relationship during its initial year to make sure the match remains relevant and effective for both parties. And the application is actually already passed for this year. However, the next mentorship program session is set to start in 2014. So just to give you a little bit of insight to put it on your radar. So stay tuned stay posted for the next year's application. And just to let you know, for the mentorship program, you do need to be certified for at least a year to participate. But if you have not been certified for a year, no worries, because by 2014, you will have been. So it's definitely something to put on your calendar for next year. Alongside the mentorship program, we also have our scholarship program. The deadline for this just passed, but with the scholarship program, the NGLCC grants access to executive education courses at Dartmouth University to strengthen the management skills of LGBT business owners and build the capacity of their business. It is specifically in partnership with Dartmouth at Tufts University, and the name of the program is Building a High-Performance Minority Business, and it's part of Tufts School of Business Executive Education Program. This scholarship covers tuition, books, accommodation, and meals. We also have a similar scholarship with the UCLA Anderson School of Business. These are week-long programs. In addition to Tuck and Anderson scholarships, we also have a general scholarship which can be applied to tuition fees for a business development course at any accredited college and university of the applicant's choice. So if there is something at your local college that you're interested in order to build your business, you can apply through the NGLCC for the scholarship to receive funding towards that course. And it's really designed for you to build your capacity for your business as a business owner. As you probably already know, or if you're in the process of becoming certified, we really value our local affiliate memberships on the local community level. The NGLCC has about 38 local affiliate chambers throughout the United States. These local chambers provide opportunities including professional and business networking that are crucial for your business. They have very robust programming on the ground, and as many of you know who have gone through the certification and recertification process, the certification and recertification fees are waived if you are a member of one of your local affiliates. And these fees are $400 and $200 respectively. And we really want to encourage you to become involved locally and take advantage of all the opportunities that your local chamber has to offer. So as you can see, there are a number of reasons why it's really important to join your local affiliate chamber and stay involved. For recertification, I also want to touch upon recertification. Make sure that you're keeping your certification current. About every 13 months, approximately, we require our business owners to submit applications for recertification. About a month and a half from when your certification is up for renewal, you'll receive a notification from your account manager informing you that your certification is up for renewal, and he or she will provide you with instructions on how to recertify. You should receive regular notices thereafter. Essentially, there's a recertification application that simply notes changes to your business, change of address, change of management, etc. You'll need to complete that form and submit it with the requested documents to the NGLCC. We do require site visits once every 3 years, so if it has been more than 3 years since your last site visit, we'll work with you to schedule another one. But it's really important to keep your certification current because you're going to need a current certificate as you're pursuing opportunities with the NGLCC if you're applying for a mentorship or scholarship program, or if you're applying with NGLCC Corporate Partners, or when you're taking advantage of our business opportunities that we offer specifically to the NGLCC, or that we offer specifically to LGBTBEs. And the recertification process is much less arduous than the original certification process. So, I mean, we already have most of the documents on file, so we're just noting changes basically and essentially. So next I'm going to sort of switch gears here and let Sam introduce us to a little bit of what he's doing frequently. So oftentimes engaging with corporate partners, as we know, is not a sprint, but a marathon. And given that you work directly with some of our corporate partners, what sort of wisdom can you give our audience on communicating with our corporate partners, and how do you use your NGLCC certification to navigate through the sales cycle? Sam?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. How it really plays out is there's a heavy emphasis on your diversity early in a relationship, and that dissipates as the relationship builds. It never goes away, but initially the discussion is quite heavy in that area. For the most part, regardless of your product or service, when you call on a company, they could have 100 employees or 10,000 employees. If they have a chief diversity officer, that is initially your first level of contact, simply because it's the one that the chamber provided for me. So that was my starting point. That was my jumping off point. And at that time, once I have registered with that organization, so I could bring that up in conversation, the call is heavy on the diversity side of why we became a diversity company. Sometimes they're curious, and also it gives you an opportunity to impress the diversity representative, because that will be the individual that if they feel that you are warranted enough to continue this conversation on, they will suggest who to speak with, and that is a great advantage. So, when calling on an organization, the diversity end of the conversation is heavy at first because you're speaking to the diversity representative, and hopefully what they will do, and you could legitimately just ask them, would you pass me along based on your recommendation to a second level of contact? And sometimes that would be the end user of your product or service, or sometimes that would be what is called procurement, but the buying divisions within companies. And they are the ones who are the in-between person that will eventually hand you off to the very last person who will say, yes, I want your product or service. But so it's very important to make a great impression early with the diversity division. You can bring up the chamber. You can bring up, associations that you have. And they will, based on, it's not as heavy in relation to your product or service, more heavy in a larger picture. As you get further down the chain, it gets very specific of your product or service. But initially, it's a little bit bigger picture, and if they feel that they would like to offer you an introduction, they do so. And then at the second level of conversation, it gets a tad more intense. And in some companies, they call it buying partners. In some companies, they call it procurement, depending on the size of the company. But the reason why diversity is important in this level is for some organizations, diversity spend is tracked. One of the reasons is that I'm not sure if the equity diversity spend is there was at one point HRC was going to dictate your 100% rating on your level of diversity spend. I wasn't sure if they enacted that or not, but most organizations do track diversity spend. And that comes from procurement. So the fiscal end of diversity will be a conversation in the mid-level. And that's why it's important to be able to talk as far as procurement talk of, do you track diversity spend? And if so, we may be an asset.
Sure. And just to jump in real quickly, what Sam is talking about is the HRC, the Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equality Index, CEI. And corporations are trying to they're trying to score 100, of course. That's ideal, right? Everybody wants an A+ on a test. But in order to do that, they have to have implemented certain things in order, beforehand. So one of those things, I believe it was in 2011 that it actually got added to the CEI.
Correct.
Was having a supplier diversity program. I'm not sure if the actual if the report spend is included in that, but at least having that supplier diversity program counts towards these large corporations getting a higher CEI score.
Yes, that was the spend aspect was on the agenda to add, and I really wasn't. I'm not sure if they did add it, but I don't think you can achieve 100% rating without a diversity program. So at that point, the middle level will be cognizant of your diversity status to that level, and that is the point in the talk track where they will ask you questions about your product and what your client base is like, and possibly even your fiscal background as far as the company goes. So it gets a little bit more intense on that end of it, almost like the operations end of your business. Mm-hmm. Once they hand you off, it gets very product driven or service driven. But the middle level is great because first of all you're handed to them from the diversity department for the most part. And then you could talk about being a diversity partner. A lot of times the number one objection that you'll hear is, we don't need any more diversity relationships right now. And I've always asked that, well, can I be a second tier to a company that is not diversity, and possibly add some diversity spend on the back of another company, and almost be a tier two. Now, that's verbiage that you may not be accustomed to, but if you come to a conference, there are programs that could let you know what tier two spend is, and that's a way for, if the door is closed, for you to open a side door, and that's something that the chamber can help you with. But it's a little bit more detailed, and that's one of a lot of times it's one of the conference's agendas. Is one of the programs is to help you maneuver through that end of it, but. That's a way for that middle level of contact to where if a door is shut, maybe you can go through a second door. Now, and on the radar of most organizations now is setting a positive example to the LGBT community. There is, at one point there was a little bit misknowledge that LGBT households made more money than heterosexual households. I don't think that's the case, but what we do have is we have different spend habits. So, our discretionary spending is much different than heterosexual households. Companies know that. I mean, it is definitely on their radar. So it's something that, they are looking for diversity companies to work with for many reasons, and one of them is to set a good example in the LGBT community. So that's something that could, being able to talk that with the procurement department could be a big asset. And at that point, if that goes well, if this middle contact feels as though your product or service is sound, and they do more of looking at your company as a whole, as far as the operations perhaps or fiscal, and at that point, potentially you will be introduced to your end level of contact, the person who will be buying your product or service. And that is, at that point, generally your diversity status is not talked about. You've gone through those conversations already, and it gets down to the nitty-gritty of my widgets are this price, and I have this delivery process. And that whole process starts with the database and ends potentially with a handshake and an agreement.
Yeah, great example. So you talked a little bit, Sam, about Tier 2 spending. Mm-hmm. do you maybe want to explain to some of our businesses who maybe aren't as familiar with that, what that sort of looks like?
Okay, sure. Let's say that let's say I'm a glass company and I would love to do business with Coca-Cola. Mm-hmm. And I sell glass, which I don't do, but let's say I did. So I'm a glass company. I want to do business with Coca-Cola. And you get to the point where Coca-Cola says, "Boy, I love your product or service, but we're not taking on any more diversity companies right now. But try back again in a few years." Well, one of the ways that we could help them out potentially is, can we work with one of your current vendors as a tier 2, and this will count as diversity spend through that organization, and also benefit us and benefit them. So there are ways you could look at their supplier list and possibly a team to them. So maybe one of those suppliers is an Inc. organization, and because you are in the glass side, you could team up with them and be a tier 2 in that organization, and thus you can also, as an added bonus to Coca-Cola, let's say, is then you can start capturing diversity spend that you weren't earlier.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great example. And so along with these tier 2 spending opportunities for some of our LGBTBEs, I often like to think that, a lot of our businesses need accountants, for example. So if you're an accountant, maybe you're not ready to work with Coca-Cola, but maybe you are ready to expand a little bit and work with maybe some of our other certified businesses. So you can go into the database and you can see folks in your region who are certified, and you can approach them, and you can leverage business based on your NGLCC certification. So it's entirely fine if you're not, looking to pursue corporate opportunities at this particular time. And it's not just with a services commodity, it's also with an actual tangible industry as well. And so you have all of those opportunities at your hands, at your disposal, through the database, through these contacts, through these networking opportunities that you get being a certified LGBTBE.
Well, I mean, certainly the average company in the chamber probably couldn't do business with a mega company, and that's why the tier 2 is important, and that's why I picked up the phone one day, and it was an accounting firm, a small accounting firm, who wanted to do business with me because of my relationship with the chamber. And as it turns out, I was able to hire a LGBT accounting firm, which I really never thought of before. But it gave me the opportunity to keep it in the family, and they found out about me through the chamber. And now I'm trying to keep as much in totality of my business in the chamber as possible. Probably, no matter what if you look around your office, whether it's having paint work done or telephone service, there is someone within our family that could provide you that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the range of commodities is very diverse.
Amazing.
Great. And I would also encourage businesses to sort of network with other folks in your commodity. So if you're in consulting, maybe reach out to Sam, or if you're in, accounting, reach out to other accountants. But in so doing, you build networks, you build relationships that if a contract does come up that you solely can't fulfill, maybe you can partner with this other person to fulfill it. I mean, that happens quite a bit in our community, and it definitely works, and it strengthens our businesses.
That's the ideas end of it, and that's what, to be honest with you, I didn't think about when attending conferences. I was so business driven that it wasn't until I ran into someone in the technology field who I was actually having lunch with, who gave me this tremendous idea. I mean, we happen to be in the same industry, but different markets, different regions in the country. And he gave me this idea that I ran back to with my staff, and they're like, "Oh, why didn't we ever think of that?" And that was an added bonus that I never thought about, but it certainly, the world is so big that even if you're talking to someone within your industry, you will not be competing against them in 3 weeks. So because we cover every corner of the United States in the chamber.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, yeah. So again, I'm just reminding folks, if you have any questions, feel free to email them to Natalie, which is NROJAS at NGLCC.org. We did have one question come through that was in regards to membership. The NGLCC is sort of unique to other chambers where we don't offer membership, but we are the governing body that certifies LGBT-owned businesses. So there's no different membership pricing that you might find at a local affiliate or local chamber level. Rather, we certify. There's certification. But any other questions, please feel free to direct them to Natalie, or if you have any questions after this that may come up, you can email myself as well. My email address is B as in boy, Stewart, STEWART, @NGLCC.org.
You know, Brent, I was in Boston at a regional a conference up there, a Boston conference, and one of the guys said to me, I really don't need to join the NGLCC because I'm in the local chamber. Mm-hmm. And that was interesting to me, but it is such completely different animals. The focus and the drive are very different compared to a local chamber and a national chamber. You know, the bigger picture and the breadth of knowledge on the NGLCC is much different than the local chambers, which add enormous benefit to companies, but are still a lot of in the networking end of end of it, and not so much on or more business to business than business to corporate. So it was interesting how this gentleman thought, I'm in the local chamber. I think he happened to be in a local chamber in Maine, of all places. And he said, I think because I'm in that, the NGLCC wouldn't be of value to me, and it's completely different animals. So I thought that was a interesting take on, and he obviously ended up joining the National Chamber, but I thought it was an interesting take on that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and one thing that, aside from the effort, it is free. We waive the fees for both certification and recertification if you are a member of one of our local affiliate chambers. But they both, and I think they work in tangent, but the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce is completely different than our local chambers of commerce. Different business opportunities, but it's really important to be part of both.
Yes.
That's a really good point. Well, Sam, I haven't had any questions come through.
Okay. I hope that the folks on the other end come to the conference. It was I had to be talked into it at first. Once I got there, I was amazed at the vibe, the direction that it was simply an organization that wanted to help me make more revenue. I said, I will be there. So I hope that the participants on the other end really come to the conference, and you have to go there once and you're hooked, and that's all it really takes.
Yeah, our conference is like no other, for sure. and I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, with the NGLCC, but it's really just an amazing opportunity. So great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sam.
Okay, my pleasure, and keep up the good work there in D.C., guys.
All right, thanks so much.
Okay.